Hello and welcome back. This is day 2 of the Summer Rejuv Challenge, and this is Alexandra, your most marvelous guide through this challenge. Yesterday we talked about the energies of Vata, Pitta and Kapha, and Pitta being the predominant energy in the summertime, Pitta meaning fire energy. We also talked about the principles of like increases like and opposites decrease each other, and we learned about the different qualities that we need to reduce. So remember that the Pitta, or the summer season, is dry, it's light and it's hot. So we're going to bring in the opposite qualities with our food and beverage and lifestyle choices to balance us out, our physiology, our mind, our emotions. So we're going to bring in moist, heavy, and cooling qualities. So today we're going to talk about beverages. But before we do so, and before I give you your action step for today, I want to hone down why food and whatever we put into this pie hole right here is so important. I mean, we sort of know it because we know the saying of food creates us, or we are what we eat, right? There's also another one in Ayurveda where we say we are what we don't poop, by the way. But we all know the one that says we are what we eat. But what does that really mean? And I want to hone that down because that's really important to understand. So what happens when you put anything in your pie hole right here? Well, you start, let's say you're eating an apple and you put it in your mouth and you start chewing it. Well, the saliva is going to be released and the breakdown happens. Well, the breakdown happens because you're chewing, and the breakdown happens because of the saliva, and it helps to break down the different elements of the food. But the apple isn't really you yet. It's in your mouth, but it's not really part of your body yet, right? Then you chewed it enough, hopefully, and you swallow it, goes down your trachea and down, down, down into your stomach. Is that food part of you yet? Now, not really, because you still could spit it out if you really wanted to. So, but once the food is in the stomach, it's going to be churned around. It's going to be mixed with enzymes and acids. What we call a lot of pitta is going to mix in with the food, and it helps to break it down. So metabolism starts to happen. But yet still, as long as it's in the stomach, we could still spit it out. Then it moves on to the small intestine. So if I were to draw this with my very limited drawing abilities, so we put something in here, and it's going to be the apple. That's supposed to be an apple. I hope you can see that. And it goes in here, goes down into the trachea, and then goes down into the stomach, and it goes into the small intestine. Well, if it's in the small intestine, it's still not really part of us until the food is broken down into its elements and actually absorbed into the bloodstream, at which time it actually starts to become part of the body. It's going to be carried by the blood to the different cells in the body, and the cells are calling out like, hey, give me some of that apple. Oh no, me too, I want some of this. And the cells are starting to be fed by it. But we can still poop it out. Bodies can still decide, oh, this apple is no good for us. Maybe it's rotten, or maybe there was some poison put into the apple. Who knows? You know, body could still decide like, hey, this is not for me. I'm gonna put this into the large intestine and poop it out. But point is that once it's being absorbed in the small intestine into the bloodstream, that apple that was once outside of us is now becoming us. So everything you see about me here, my arm, my skin, my eyelashes, my hair, my cheeks, my chest, my anything, my bones, my blood, my anything is really fed by whatever I put into the pie hole. So you can imagine that, say this apple is organic and it's been growing in your garden and it's been grown with love and attention and it has really beautiful surroundings, and you eat that apple is going to become you. Now, if this apple maybe was grown next to the roadside and was laden with pesticides and herbicides to help it grow faster or bigger or better, and you start eating this apple, well, you're going to become this unorganic apple that's been grown by the wayside with a lot of car fumes attached to it and whatnot. So that's going to become you. Or imagine, say you go to McDonald's all the time, which probably don't, but let's say the extreme example, you go to McDonald's, well, that is what's going to be you. That hormone-fed beef that's on the bun, that's laden with things that you can't even pronounce, versus say you are a raw food enthusiast, and you do a lot of juicing and you feed yourself that way. Your body's gonna look and function completely differently. Okay, so this is really, I wanted to share this with you because this really illustrates how important food is. Really, we say this is the foundational piece to any type of health issue. If you have a health issue that's been chronic, or you have a health issue that's not even chronic, but you just feel off, or you feel fatigued, or you feel exhausted, or you feel just like, oh, I don't know, it's just something's off in my body, oh, my elimination isn't quite as good and whatnot, you know? Those are all very important indicators for you that something is out of balance. So food is the first thing to look at. In Ayurveda, actually, we say that all disease starts in the digestive system. And we need to look there first. And that applies to imbalances anywhere in the body. Could be even imbalances in the skin. So for example, in the summertime, if you have psoriasis, or if you have rosacea, or some kind of inflammatory skin disease, whatever you eat may show up in your skin. So that leads me to beverages, because that is something that we feed our body as well. And if you've listened to any of my other videos, you may have gathered that alcohol and coffee are to be taken only in moderation, if at all, in the summertime. You know what? In the wintertime, maybe a cup of coffee might not be so bad. But in the summertime, it's just gonna drive you through the roof, because both alcohol and coffee are heating. And we know that summer is the pitta season, it's heating, you're gonna overheat yourself. So it's better to drink cooling liquids, and I'm not talking about ice cold liquids, I'm talking about liquids that have a cooling quality to it. So one of the things that comes to mind is peppermint. You could make yourself some peppermint tea, and I'm talking cold infusion. So you put the peppermint in a glass jar, put some cold water on it, let it sit for 30 minutes up to 4 to 8 hours even, and you can drink that liquid, and it is cooling to the body. Same thing with nettles. That's also a very good one. Another one that really comes to mind is aloe vera juice. I always put that in my drinking water because aloe is, well, both moist, and it is somewhat heavy, and it is cooling. So it has all the qualities that you want for the pitta season. So just drinking 1 to 2 ounces of aloe juice every day will help you to keep that pitta at bay. There's also a bunch of other ideas down somewhere around this video, wherever you're picking it up. It's either in the hub or either in the Facebook group. But there's a bunch of recipes that I'm sharing with you in terms of what is appropriate in the summertime. The other piece that comes to mind is watermelon juice, and the other piece that comes to mind is cucumber water. So, beverages, incredibly important. So your action step for today is to again look at that grocery list and mark the drinking section and check out what you would like to adopt today and tomorrow and the next 5 days into your daily routine. And write down any other ideas that you've picked up from this video, because the list doesn't have everything that I mentioned in this video here, and you just want to have like a more complete list, I suppose. So in any case, now we've talked about how to feed yourself internally. Do your action steps, because that's really where the change occurs. It's good to get the information by me talking to you on the video, but really you have to take action steps in order to shift something for yourself. Tomorrow, we will talk about how to feed yourself externally. So we've talked about how to feed yourself internally with food and with beverages. And then we're gonna talk about how you're going to feed yourself from the outside with oil and other things so that you stay in balance. So until then, bye for now. Great to chat with you, and I will talk with you soon. Bye.